Bitcoin and all cryptocurrency is going to fail very soon. If you have holdings in it, I would very seriously consider liquidating them. It's going to fail for one simple reason. The concept of it has been tried before, and it has failed in an epic way. Ask yourself a question. All the Bitcoin folks who talk about how wonderful an investment it is, do you realize they always talk about how many dollars a Bitcoin is worth? You see, it's denominated in dollars. They talk about Bitcoin being some type of a way to circumvent fiat currency. But for it to be useful at all, it has to first be converted back into fiat currency. It is starting to collapse, and this will be the final time. This is the one day. This is the 1 month. And it would be far, far worse than this if the dollar had held its value. But what do we know? The dollar is losing its value. So it's going down right along with it. If the dollar had held its value, Bitcoin would be under 20,000 by now. But I can prove this. Some people are asking, Florida Maquis, what do you mean Bitcoin has been tried before and it failed? The idea of Bitcoin is freedom and liberty. It's the idea of getting away from government control. It is the chosen currency of those who want anarchy. It was the idea of the new world. I put these three images together because I thought it would encompass the romanticism that people have for ideas like this. This rustic cabin way out in the middle of nowhere, kind of a medieval look to it. Looks like there might be some fires lit inside and a table with some wine and bread and meat and maybe somebody to share that with. Seems like a dream. Well, when they came to the New World so many years ago, that's what they found. All they had to do was figure out a way to take with them all of the trappings of civilization without all of the headaches. A book of verse, underneath the bough, a jug of wine, a loaf of bread, and thou. Beside me singing in the wilderness, O wilderness, were paradise and now being just an ancient word for enough. You see, the modern world is conditioning you, though, to view freedom like this as selfish, but it comes with a price. It comes with a price, and I've mentioned this series before and why you should get hard copies of it, because they're going to get rid of it, because it shows something they don't want you to see. And it largely has to do with this character all the way to the right. The character in the show's name is Max. And something that she does, see, she creates their version of a cryptocurrency. You see, where there's freedom and liberty, men and women make choices that people don't like. The entire series is centered around a brothel or an inn where there's pirates. And, of course, there's the use of all sorts of substances, and there's all sorts of debauchery, and there's all sorts of imagery that is kind of perhaps off-putting to those who like more traditional values. But they don't ask the question, well, who would decide what should and should not be allowed in this new world? How should we go about conducting our finances? And that's what really is the crux of their entire issue. They're trying to make two things work together that never work together. And that's the stupidity of it. Now you're asking, what does this have to do with cryptocurrency? I still don't get it. Okay. For Nassau, in the series, Black Sails to Work, their little area in the Bahamas, they have to have some type of a stake to work from. They want to do commerce, but yet they also want to do pirating. They want to make somehow the free, fun part of anarchy also work with the stability and the security of the civilized world. They're trying to make two things work together that are diametrically opposed. So this character, Max, you know what she does? You see, they raid this Spanish ship, treasure ship, full of gold. I mean, just laden to the gills with gold. But they have a problem. You see, the Spanish are going to want their gold back. So they have to find a way to hide the wealth. So how does this character hide the wealth? Well, it's real simple. She takes all of the gold and she converts it into rubies and emeralds and pearls and all sorts of other different precious gems and alternative currencies that were somewhat a little bit less predictable, but far easier to carry around and didn't carry with them the weight of it being quote unquote stolen currency. It was almost a form of money laundering, really. And that's what Bitcoin is. It's money laundering. Because you can take $1 million, convert it into Bitcoin, and then you get the keys for it, the crypto keys. What happens if you lose all the crypto keys? It's as if you took a torch to it, right? It's done. You lose the keys, the crypto keys to your Bitcoin, it's over. So who has to replace that money? Guess who has to replace that money? That's right, the government does. In this particular case, it would have been the Spanish, the English, the French, or the Dutch. But in the modern world, it's just the US replacing the dollar. So in essence, if you wanted to destroy an economy with cryptocurrency and you had enough money of your own, you could just continually buy a certain currency, convert it to Bitcoin, and then throw away the keys. See what happened? See how that's just a destruction of value, a destruction of wealth? You see, that's what happened when the Spanish figured out what they were doing in Nassau. They sailed a giant fleet. And some might say, well, they can't seize my Bitcoin. That's illegal. That would be against the law. They can't seize my Bitcoin. Criminals don't obey laws. You don't think they're going to come take it? They will absolutely come take it. Because the only way you can use it is if you convert it to dollars. I defy anyone to go into a Publix, a grocery store, and try to pay with Bitcoin at the register directly. You see, there are places like in Venezuela where they've set up systems that you can go pay with cryptocurrency, but all they're doing is taking the currency, your crypto, and instead of you converting it into a fiat, they're converting it into a fiat for you. And like I said, if the dollar were not crashing in value right now, Bitcoin would be far worse off because the dollar would be worth a lot more, wouldn't it? And Bitcoin is still going down even though the dollar is going down. That's the terrifying part. That's truly the terrifying part. See, they're not just going to let people, destroy the value of the dollar for their own selfish gain. I mean, if they want to do it to control populations, that's one thing. But everything is denoted in dollars. Even Bitcoin is denoted in dollars for the vast majority of transactions in the world. And the power of the dollar can manipulate the value of Bitcoin. How does that make it independent? And here's the key. Here's the real kicker to this. All Bitcoin will be mined by 2140. There won't be any Bitcoin left to be mined. So the miners will be useless in a little over 100 years. Now, some people, well, that doesn't have anything to do with me. Well, think about it. If you go back to 1787 or whenever, They were in Nassau. What if you had told them that all the gold in the world will have been discovered by the late 1800s? Nobody even at that time would have bothered getting into gold. Because once it's all out there, eventually people are going to find other sources of value. And this, Andrew McCarthy nails this. And this is a quick clip from Fox. Quote, Democrats are the party of government. If aliens are permitted to vote and do so in support of Democrats, the government will become larger, more intrusive, and redistributionist. The bigger government becomes, the more it suffocates liberty and crowds out private investment, meaning funds would increasingly be allocated based on political favor rather than economic efficiency. That is how you kill a prosperous society. You see, the idea of Bitcoin destroys the very currency it's trying to denote itself in. The very thing it's trying to value itself in, it's destroying at the same time. Which brings me back to this. You see, you wouldn't need 1 red cent to create any of this. All you would need is the knowledge and the raw materials and resources to build the cabin, to build a little bridge, to bake some bread. You grow some grain, meat, spices, a soft place to lay your head. See, all these things that people want, that they equate the desire for currency with, they miss the disconnect. That at one time currency wasn't necessary. Even Jesus said it. Render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's. All currency, whether you think you've earned it or not, or whether you think the government doesn't know about it or not, or the government can or can't control it or not. All currency. None of it was created by God. Therefore, it's not his. All currency is just a mere convenience of government. And it doesn't work. It's never worked. The idea of marrying up the freedom and liberty of anarchy with all of the comforts and trappings of civilization. You don't get to have it both ways. If you want freedom and liberty, there are going to be things that go on that are unsavory. And you're not going to like it. And people are going to start to complain and say, well, there shouldn't be this and there shouldn't be that and there shouldn't be the other. Because men are men and women are women and humans are humans. And you don't get to have it both ways. That's what makes the relationship between these two characters in the show so funny, because she's from Civilization, the blonde on the right, and the one on the left, the Max character, is not. She's been a prostitute her whole life. And as much as they might want to think that they can somehow make something work, it never will. Same thing here. Between these two characters, Long John Silver and his romantic interest, they have the same ideas, but they're from too far apart. You don't get to have things both ways. And I know this seems like maybe a bit of a harsh collage of pictures to put together, but this is the reality. You can have one and then take the results of that, or you can have the other and take the results of that. But the two never work together, and they never have. And this is an ancient story. People have been trying to launder money for a long time. Bitcoin will never stand on its own. If it were standing on its own, it would never be denominated in dollars. Nobody would ever take it and convert it into dollars to use it. But that's all they do. So I will leave it there. But God bless. Like, share, subscribe. Have a great week, and we will see you guys next time.